Hello everyone, and welcome back to another daily game review video. In today's game we have Dw197 8Q versus TsuiokuHen 8Q. So two 8Qs. And as per usual, I have not seen the game yet, so let's see what's going to happen. Alright, DW playing black, starting in the bottom right corner. And playing a cross Fuseki, very interesting. I haven't seen a cross Fuseki in quite a while. Basically the cross Fuseki is saying you don't want your own framework, even if white splits or whatever. And it creates for a very fast pace and fighting type game. So we'll see how this goes. Black playing very aggressive from the start, playing 2 star points, cross Fuseki, white responding with 2-3-4s. And black taking a very common approach. So in a cross Fuseki, basically black wants to try and develop a position very quickly and try and get the one up on white and pretty much maximize his advantages from going first. We'll see how white responds to this, and white chooses to play this type of move. I'm not sure this move is good in this case since well, let's see how it plays out in the game. If black chooses to go up like this and white tries to play something like this, black could easily respond this way and use them just fix here. Black can surround here, or black can continue to come down and block here. The idea is white is getting some territory in the corner, but black's getting all the influence. And considering this is a cross Fuseki, black's developing quite nicely, and white is not developing a position at all. He's only getting territory. So I think rather than something like this, maybe a little bit faster pace move like this would be more common here. And then perhaps he can get something like this going and start developing his own position somehow. Or maybe even something like this. The idea here would be to be much faster paced, play Joseki against Yusente, and try and play a little bit faster. However, getting sealed in, I'm not sure if it's the best choice here. Black threatening the corner, white saying, I don't care if you take my corner, I'm going to get the side. Normally it's corner before side, but let's see how this plays out. Black jumps back, doesn't take the corner. I think the corner is pretty valuable here. And it kind of encourages white to respond again somehow over here, maybe here, because if white doesn't and white plays a normal move, black could easily get a pincer type move here and threaten to take away white's base. And you can see the white stones are floating and don't really have much of a base. So instead black chooses to just jump back here, and 2 jumps over 3, quite common. And white chooses to approach here. Choosing the high approach, I'm not a big fan of the high approach personally. It is a move, but since black is able to get a large corner, I usually don't recommend playing it, especially since there's a 4th line stone here, and 4th line wants to come down to the 3rd line, and so does black's 4th line stone, so I think this would be a perfect approach here. However, going here, you may lead to complications when black plays something like this. Or black may try something here, which he did in the game. Okay, so this is the game move. But now the 3-3 is possible for white. However, getting thickness here and then a pincer would be quite powerful. So I'm not sure what white's plan is. White deciding just to jump back here. And this move maybe should be a 1 stone further down here. In case black chooses to do something like this. That way you have 2 stones jumping 3, and this position is kind of solid. However, if you play it now, it'll be 2 stones jumps 2, and it'll be a little bit inefficient. Black deciding not to defend the corner and instead approach white's corner, much faster pace. But you should remember that the 3-3 is still open here, so until black fixes this 3-3 is always possible for white, and there's not really going to be many points here. So black approaches in the corner. White playing a pincer, trying to prevent black from getting a type of combination here. And we see this type of Joseki follow up. And white choosing to get influence in the Tanuki. White not finishing the Joseki. Let's see, if I recall, the Joseki is something like this, correct? However, black is able to simply play normal variation and then just reduce white on the right side. So I'm not sure I like this Joseki. Normally you would see a Hane here, and if white wants to, white can play this way and then jump like this, and this stone can maybe kind of put pressure on this, but black could also play here. It's actually kind of difficult to work with here, so perhaps the pincer isn't the best, but I don't want to say the pincer is wrong. However, you need to play a basic Joseki, but playing half of a Joseki and then Tanuking like this can't be right. Especially since the 3-3 was still open anyway, so there wasn't much here, right? He could have done this later. White could have easily just sealed in like this even, and black reduced like this, and then perhaps gone here. I'm not a big fan of this, but it's still better than the game. In this shape, black could easily cut through here. This is not connected at all. Black just defending here, white getting 2-space extension, but it's not good enough if black just comes through here, which he does. And white extending very slowly with a 1-space jump. Black can easily pincer this, which he does, but he can be more aggressive here since he's already alive in the corner. Black can play here, taking away white's space. White has maybe one eye, and you can see white is very cramped and getting attacked, and on this board you do not want to be responding to your opponent like this and letting your opponent control you, because here the only framework for white is on the left, and black is getting one on the bottom and on the right side now. So black can easily start taking advantage of the game if he plays like this. Instead, he pincers from here, giving white a little room to breathe. White trying to make some shape in the corner. Black just simply lives. And white being a little over aggressive here. Black can simply just jump out here instead. Looks like he respawns in the corner though. Some people may have rising concerns about the shape in the corner here, because white can jump out. However, you can do this throw in and double Atari, so it's not a big deal. Black is alive and well, so you don't have to worry about that. White's still not alive on the right side, and there's weakness on the top side here and here. Black still has some weakness in the corner here. These 3 stones aren't in a good position. However, the rest of the board is looking good for black. White jumps, makes some shape. Black jumping back and making some territory. I might prefer here, so that way it makes a 3-3 echo instead of this move. However, I can't say that's bad. It's still a nice move. He was probably worried about the 3-space extension and white jumping in, but nothing to really worry about. He also didn't choose to attack this group. He could have probably done something a little bit more aggressive, maybe here, and threatened to cut off white like this, and then play a type of leaning attack here, still keeping white weak. And you can see on the top side, white's shape's still not very good. So maybe white still owes a move here, and then black could easily start attacking this group very severely. However, we proceed with the game. Black just playing a big move, and white jumping up, and black defending the corner. This is a little bit slow. It's a very big corner, but it does feel a little bit slow. However, white did not get much in exchange, so white had to defend himself. White lost his own corner, and white did seal him in, but this influence isn't very powerful thanks to these black stones over here, and black got a lot of territory. So now white's going to really have to do something to the upper left corner and gain profit in order to make up for black getting the whole bottom side. White trying a little bit hard here. Does this work? I didn't think about this move. It looks like this move actually works. So this would be nice. No, this is a Seki. This is a Seki. Let's see how it plays out. So white not wanting to make the Seki right now. So yeah, this is a Seki because if white defends here, then you can see that if white plays here, black captures, it's 4 in a row, and if white plays here, black captures, it's alive. So this would be a Seki type shape. But it's a bit slow right now to make a Seki, so white is correct in playing somewhere else. Some good reading there by black, and white trying, but kind of missing the mark to capture to kill this black group. That may be why white spent so many moves here surrounding black. However, since he didn't really kill him, the influence again doesn't really do anything. Now white's trying to come in and reduce this area, but this isn't really the way to play. When you want to reduce a position, you play on the line of the influence, which would be somewhere around here. However, this is going to be too big for black to get, and white's not getting enough in exchange, so you really want to invade somewhere like here, and when black plays here, perhaps you can just jump out, and it should be okay. It should still be possible to invade this area. However, I do really want to attack the top left and get some thickness first, and that thickness will be useful as support to an invasion later. So perhaps a move like here would be fine, or maybe even push here and then go here and see what happens. But I would try something against the top left corner and try and get some profit and thickness first before I go somewhere else, because you're going to have to do some forcing moves to get back in this game. White is losing by a little bit. However, playing a move like this just isn't going to cut it. Black can easily just respond with some normal move over here to develop his position. It's going to be worse and worse and worse for white. He does, however, need to get back and make sure he defends this at some point. So he chooses to do that now, which is perfectly fine. White responding, black trying to make some shape. Excuse me. White deciding to invade now. This invasion doesn't seem like it's gonna work as well though, because the only follow-up is here, but he could have done that anyway, right? So it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. White getting sealed in and not reading it through, it looks like, because black can just no me down, and white trying to cut. However, it is 3 liberties to 3 liberties, and black can easily win this capturing race. White trying to seal in black, and white dying and failing in this area, and gives black even more points. So white now coming back, changing gears since he lost this group to come back and attack the top left. A little bit late for that since black already defended. However, black's shape's still not perfect, so it is a good idea. And since he already gave black a lot of points down here, it's probably the only idea left is to attack this group, gain some profit, and then still come and reduce the bottom right somehow. Black gaining a good bit here and reading very nicely. It seems black's reading is very good in this game. Black also is trying very nicely to play some good directional play, and it looks like black has just been controlling the game from like the second move. With this cross Juseki, he just made it his type of game and then just kept playing. So black responding very nicely. White trying some interesting and strange moves, like in the bottom left and the top right. He played moves that were not quite normal Juseki and didn't even finish the Juseki. So I think white should really focus on learning some basic Juseki first and then figuring out how to pick Juseki. While it's true you don't want to just rely too much on Juseki are Juseki because pros play them. So these variations aren't bad, it's just you have to figure out which Juseki to play when, and that's where the trick of it is. However, playing some random moves that you've never seen before just because you want to try and make it work in a local situation, while very imaginative and pretty inventive, can sometimes backfire if your opponent has good reading skills or good judgment, and it looks like black did this game. So you can see that white trying to come up with his own plans and his own strategies, and it's just not quite working out for him because black's just reverting it back to the basics, sticking to basic shapes, basic Juseki, and backing it up with his reading and direction of play and judgment skills, and coming out quite nicely on this board. So now we're going to see how he defends the top left corner, and if he does it good enough, it looks like he's going to be set up to win this game. However, instead of defending the top left, he comes back and plays down here. It looks like he's getting a little bit greedy. He's winning. He doesn't really need to do anything but defend the top left. If the top left dies, then of course white will be back in the game. And white invading here now quite a bit too late. Black just taking the stone. I'm thinking he's worried about the forcing moves, but he honestly doesn't need to. Just play a capping move here, and you can see white's completely sealed in. Just seal in white, and already you can see black's getting profit in the center, even if white lives. And this is assuming white's going to live, and it's not quite sure how he's going to. But instead, playing kind of a soft move here, and white coming out. It looks like he's trying to seal his victory, but now he's starting to play a little bit slower than he was. I think he just needs to keep playing as he was playing rather than trying to play these slow moves to keep it secure, because a bunch of slow moves in a row can really cost you a winning position. So white jumping out here, Black trying to take the base. Honestly isn't really a base anymore, so you go ahead and surround is just fine. Even if white plays here, you can still just surround it with the move, and you can see there's still not really a base yet. So even if you just surround it with some normal moves like this, you can see white's still going to have some trouble living because of this stone and this stone. I mean, where's the eye shape? Even if white plays here, you can play here. White plays here, you play here. The eye shape here is very poor for white. So we're going to see how this plays out. So no reason to really take the base here yet. Now white's going to get another jump. Instead, he Tanukis. Oh, definitely not good, because you really want to defend your weaknesses before you play elsewhere. Otherwise, your opponent will punish these very severely. So white should definitely jump up here and try and get out. Black gave him a chance, and instead of taking it, he actually ignores it and tries to go here. So black has a very good chance to attack these two stones now. Black playing a very nice leaning attack on this stone. White trying to come back, but actually this move is just going to lead to a broken shape like this, and you can see the shape here is quite bad for white. And he still Tanukis it again. This stone is not important. He really needs to get back and do something in this area to defend this group. Instead, he's defending the wrong side, wasting moves, and black just keeps going. I think black should actually turn here and start really putting pressure on this group, sealing this group in, and making it really hard for white to deal with. Instead, black keeps pushing from this side. It looks like he's trying to do a leaning attack. However, he's going to give white another chance to fix his shape. White does do that, and black now trying to cut him apart. I think he just should focus on attacking the group as a whole. Remember, when you attack, it's not to kill but to gain profit, and sealing him in is quite a big profit, because not only is he getting thickness to support his weak group, but now he can get some thickness here to try and do some double hanes here and break into this area. Instead, he tries to go here to come apart and maybe go for the kill. And white trying his best to make shape, black playing and trying really hard to take these vital points in these eyes. However, you don't want to do this until your opponent's completely sealed in. If your opponent's not sealed in, these moves can sometimes actually help your opponent. So black really needs to seal him in first before playing these types of moves. We see here white trying to still make shape first before playing, and it looks like if white isn't careful, this might backfire. So black playing and making some points, white's forced to connect now, and now black can seal in, and now black is able to take those vital points and get the seal as well, and it looks like white is going to have a lot of trouble. However, black, worried about his own weakness here, defends here, and I'm not sure if he really needs to worry about this, because honestly, what can white do? If white goes here and then here, black can just connect this way. So I don't think black really needs to worry about this. His whole group's dying. Even if white lives in the corner, if the whole group is dead, it's definitely a good exchange for him. So I'm not sure why he's playing that way. White's playing the Atari, and this Atari is possible to Tanuki, but maybe black doesn't want to do it. However, giving your opponent that chance to think about whether they have to respond is usually not good. He isn't going to be able to get cut here, so I don't know why he's wasting the move. If anything, that's a co-threat. He should just go ahead and start jumping here, and since he's got the tiger's mouth shape, if black plays tiger's mouth, he can probably play a 2-point jump here, so I think he should definitely try this and try and escape as fast as he can. Black can't cut here, so he definitely shouldn't be wasting a move trying to play here. Black does decide to connect, and white then jumps out. However, this shape looks a little bit loose, so I'm wondering if it can get cut, and we're going to see if black tries. Black does try to cut. White jumps out with a 1-point jump, and now black is almost out of attacking moves. Black still has a Hane here and a Hane here, and let's see if he does it. He instead pushes from behind like this, and normally this is not a good way to attack. This Hane here is much more powerful, and if white plays here, you can jump here and then maybe get a Hane off here, and then perhaps cut stuff apart later here, or maybe even cut it apart now, since white has multiple weaknesses. But instead, pushing from behind and trying to cut like this usually is in good shape, because white can just Nobi and give up the stone, which he doesn't do. If white just Nobis here, his shape is still fine. Even if black gets a wedge off here, white goes here, black plays here, Atari, Atari, and connect. You can see that even though he lost a few stones, his main group has escaped, and that's what you really want to focus on, is your main group. Instead, playing like this, his main group's still going to get surrounded again. Perhaps there's a ladder shape here that he has to worry about, so black has to Nobi. which he does, because if you play here, this shape is a little bit good for white. So go ahead, Nobi, and get these 2 stones. White escapes. So perhaps this is okay, but that's originally because black pushed from the inside instead of trying to get on the outside. Black keeping white cut, and now he has support to try and reduce this area some. However, he should probably fix these 2 stones since they have a follow-up to cut off this group. So he does do that, and quite nicely, and takes the liberties and completely steals white, but he does it the wrong way. Why not go here? And then if white goes here, he goes here. Okay, so he's worried about this, and it looks like 1, 2, 3 to 1, 2, and that's a legitimate worry. So, okay, so he read a lot better than I did in this area, apparently, and decided to go here. So, is there anything else he can do? Perhaps he can try and get a move in Sente first over here somehow, and then perhaps later aim at this, because you really want to get that seal if you can, but normally you do not want to push your opponent out. If you push your opponent out, then there's no more attack. But even if he does, I think he's still okay, because even if he gets this move and this move and this move, it still should be semi-okay for him, because white's thrown out alive and maybe he can break out, but it's also quite dangerous for him. So maybe he has to play a knight's move here, and it looks like it might be fine, but at the same time, this is a lot riskier than it should have been. Remember, he could have just Hani'd and got the Atari easily. And maybe it's because of this move and gave white the chance to break out. What about just playing here? So white Nobi's down. Okay, so he can't break out that way. So perhaps he just didn't read it far enough. Maybe trying to get some forcing moves here first, and see how this plays out. However, this is going to really hurt this group, so I think black definitely messed up this attack with this push and cut like this. It looked like it was doing good for black at the start, but actually now black's starting to die, huh? Yeah, definitely this Hane would have been better. So black playing here, and I thought this would be okay for black, but actually after reading it a little bit more, it looks like it's going to be quite dangerous for black. Black extending back, but this is not Sente because there's still this liberty, so this Hane doesn't work. So white can actually come here and just probably kill him. White taking the seal here, and now black's in a lot of trouble. However, if we look over the overall position, black has a possible psyche up here, so no points. He has here and here, and then he has a weak group up here. White has this left side, however, black can still break in, so I think black should really start reducing the side while getting some shape here and then break in, and he probably still has a chance to win this game, even if this dies. However, white is now caught up back in the game and probably winning due to this dead group of blacks. Black trying desperately to live, and it looks like it's just not going to work. He does play some nice sequences here. Yeah, doesn't quite work. That definitely a misread. Definitely a misread for him. And you can see black extending here, and black resigns. Black misreading several times over. And actually at the start his reading was really good, right? But it looks like as soon as he messed up one time, he panicked and lost his cool and wasn't able to seal that victory. If he just calms down and reevaluates the board after this gets captured, he can see that, okay, it's dead for sure. Now let's reevaluate the board. I have the bottom right corner and the bottom left. I do have a weak group in the top left, but it looks like white's going to be quite a bit ahead, so I really need to reduce the left side as much as I can while living with the top left corner. And that's going to be the only way he can come back in this game. I would say he should probably still try and play it out at this level. I mean, it's not like it's a pro level where if you're behind by 5 points, you're almost game over. However, in this case, I think he still might have a chance. It's just going to be a long shot, and honestly, it's probably going to be because of the push from behind and cut here. He should have Haned here, and that would have helped him out, but as soon as he realizes he's dead, he has to get back and play the rest of the game, and just ignore that group. That's one group, it's one mistake, It's bad. It lets white catch up and actually gives white the lead. However, I'm not convinced it's game over just yet, so I think he should still try while he can, and then when it gets near to where it's finished, then maybe he can think about resigning. However, you can see that black just played too quickly instead of calming down after he died, and then he realized that he's just overplaying like crazy now and decided to resign rather than calming down and reevaluating the board. So I think this is important, an important psychological factor that people need to work on. When you mess up, you need to really calm down and not panic and not get distraught, but rather calm down, reevaluate the board, refine the biggest moves, and then take it step by step from there. Even if you're losing, even if you know you're losing, and you're like, I don't see how to come back, well, there's not gonna be any one giant move to come back. As you saw in this game, white was losing for a while, and white was even getting attacked very severely, and it looks like black's attack just kind of backfired here. However, you saw that while white was losing, white didn't resign. He just kept playing the next biggest move, and then black started slowly destroying himself. And that's basically what you gotta look for, is when your opponent plays those slightly soft moves, and you just have to do your best to take advantage of them. And you gotta play the big moves one by one and catch up point by point. There's not gonna be any one move comeback. So when you get in a bad position or you mess up, then you're just going to have to train yourself to calm down, reevaluate the board, and just take it move by move and keep trying to find the best moves, and keep a lookout for any chances you might see, because your opponent's not perfect either, so perhaps they'll make a mistake. But of course, you obviously don't want to wait for a mistake. That's a proverb. Don't wait on your opponent's mistakes or something like that. However, you need to realize that your opponent's not perfect, and if you calm down and take your game to the next level, perhaps you can make a comeback in the end game. So training your end game is also another skill, and that's a great way to come back, is coming back maybe 10 to 20 points in the end game if your end game's that much better than your opponent. Even if it's not, if you can just play the best moves you can, and perhaps there's a chance will arise, and if it doesn't, then you can think about resigning after the board's pretty much settled and there's no weaknesses to take advantage of. Here, there's still openings in white's territory for you to think about, so I really think black should just keep playing the biggest moves, defend his group while reducing white, and just try and take it step by step until there is absolutely nothing left to try on the board, and then if there's no chance for him to come back, then he can think about resigning. But until then, I think black should really try his hardest and see what he can do with this area, because he did get these stones here when surrounding white, so perhaps he can break in somewhere. So yeah, this game, it looked like black was playing very nicely at the start, but as soon as white came in and as soon as he thought he had a winning position, it looked like he just kind of started playing a bunch of slow moves, thinking he was winning and just need to keep playing normally. However, even though you're winning, you still should play the best moves that you can. You shouldn't start playing a bunch of soft moves, otherwise your opponent might come back, and I think that's a big lesson to learn here. Even though you're in a winning position, you should still play the best moves and stick to basics. Blacks, I think, played very nicely this game up until this attack, and then he just kind of played too softly and then tried, and then a little bit of a misread here. But otherwise, I think he played very well. White, after white was able to escape thanks to black's little soft moves, he was able to play here very nicely. But honestly, I think black was controlling the game most of the game. It's just black made a little blunder and then destroyed himself psychologically. Honestly, I think white was quite a bit behind in the flow of the game and the reading and stuff. So black definitely had a chance to win this game, and white definitely had his work cut out for him. But white stuck in there, hung in there, and was able to find a chance to come back. However, I think white definitely needs to work on learning some basic joseki, basic shapes, and I think you can do that by just studying like maybe one joseki a day and reviewing professional games, and always look up a joseki you don't know. I always recommend that if you don't have very good direction of play or good shapes, then professional games and books are basically where you're going to find them. You can't really teach yourself shapes. You're just going to have to train your eyes to see them by reviewing stronger level players' games like professional games, older Japanese games, or learn them from books or from teaching games. So that's how you study to improve your shapes in Joseki. And White should also get a couple life and death problems today, because you saw on the bottom his reading wasn't so accurate, but in the right side he did pretty good. Also in the top right he didn't really see the Seki until it was too late. Yeah, that's basically what White needs to work on. Black, I think, needs to work on calming down after he makes a mistake. Black looked like Black was a little too overconfident after he had a winning position, which he played really nicely up until that. It's just overconfidence can become your enemy in certain games. So I think he has to work on some psychological things rather than some tactics or skills, because it looks like he had very nice foundation, very nice basics, and some nice reading up until that little blunder. I do think both players should realize that attacking the weak group is much more important than these moves over here, because I think there was 3 moves that should have been on this weak group instead. Black should also realize that he should surround first before playing the Vita Point. Don't worry about playing too severely. Just surrounding your opponent's usually good enough, and that is profit in and of itself. And also defend your weakness before you Tanuki. Otherwise, you might die. Aside from that, I think both players played very interesting games. It was a nice little game to look at, and we get to see a cross Suseki. And you saw how aggressive the cross Suseki can be. If you play even one slow move, your opponent's going to get a position faster than you, and it becomes very difficult. So, yeah. Well, that's it for today's game. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And if you want to leave your game for a chance for it to get reviewed in these daily game reviews, please read the description below and click on that link and submit your game, and perhaps it'll get reviewed in one of these videos. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.